See, so today what we're going to do is, we have some part of the tiger reserves, and as I told you, tiger is a very, very important area from where UPSC can ask questions. So first we'll be starting off with that area, and then we'll be moving into pollution. Okay. So now to start off with, see, when it comes to tiger conservation, we don't have to know too much into the species details because all those questions are being exhausted by UPSC. Okay, the Royal Bengal tiger, what kind of subspecies it is, all those questions have been exhausted. We have to know more about the conservation measures related to it. The first thing that you have to know is, see, it is being protected under the Indian Wildlife Protection Act, Schedule 1. This is quite obvious. When we study the Wildlife Protection Act also, you will know that any species worth its name will mostly be under Schedule 1. So you don't have to specifically remember, okay, elephant is under Schedule 1, tiger is under Schedule 1. Anything that requires a specific amount of higher degree of protection will be in Schedule 1. So then it becomes easier for you to observe if any species is in any other schedule. That is what you will have to separately remember, and that is very few. When we study species, we'll come across it. Okay. Indian tiger is under the Schedule 1. According to the IUCN Red List, it is in the endangered category. Okay. And one more international convention associated with this is CITES. What does CITES deal with? Yeah, illegal trade and trafficking of animals. Okay. So here, when it comes to the CITES also, you can see the Indian tiger falls under the Appendix 1. Okay. When we study the conventions, you will know what these appendices are. Like, what is 1, what is 2, what each of this stands for. Okay. Now coming into what are the conservation measures. So, have an idea over here. In India, the Indian tiger conservation starts off from your NTCA, which is your National Tiger Conservation Authority, and a project that they have devised, which is your Project Tiger. Okay, the Project Tiger is a centrally sponsored scheme of Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change and all that. And the idea is to provide central assistance to the tiger states for tiger conservation. Okay, now it is being overlooked over here by your NTCA. NTCA is your National Tiger Conservation Authority. Right now, they also have a regulatory role in the tiger conservation. It is a statutory body. Okay, and if it's a statutory body, when or what, according to what statute it is? Huh? Yeah, again. Specified. It's not just any Wildlife Protection Act. It is the amendment of the Wildlife Protection Act, which has happened in 2006. Yesterday, we studied something which was related. You guys don't tell me. I'm asking the online guys. The 2002 amendment of Wildlife Protection Act had given rise to some kind of structures. What was it? Online people, tell me. Sonali, Abhishek, Bhavna. Where is Shubham? Shubham, if Shubham is there. Okay, I've got an answer from there. What is the answer from you guys? Yes, community and conservation reserves. This NTCA is under the 2006 amendment of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Okay, now coming over here, few of the other things that we have to know is, apart from the National Tiger Conservation Authority, you also have something called as the Tiger Conservation Foundation. Okay. Initially, if I had to put a structure to it, think of it like this. According to the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, it was mentioned that every tiger state should have a Tiger Conservation Foundation. Okay. And some of the states implemented it, some did not do it. Okay. So in that scenario, the tiger conservation, despite having an authority and all, still suffered. The tiger was not getting preserved, or it was not getting protected. So it is in the wake of that, what happened is, this 1972 Wildlife Protection Act got amended in 2006, and thereby it gave rise to a National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay, which means what? See, Tiger Conservation Foundation will be there. It's mandated by law itself that everyone should implement. But overall, centrally, if you look, who has the better authority for conservation? That is your National Tiger Conservation Authority. On a state level, most of the tiger states have a Tiger Conservation Foundation, and that is given by the 1972 Act. So if UPSC wants to confuse you, this is where they will mix and match. Okay, because naturally we might think National Tiger Conservation Authority is the stricter organization, right? Or the more better one. So we naturally think it got derived from the original legislation, but that is wrong. No, not from the original legislation, but from the amendment. Okay. As of now, if you can look over here, most of the states have actually, or for example, the tiger reserve states which have tiger reserves, most of them have implemented the Tiger Conservation Foundation, barring these areas. Okay. Kamlang, Orang, Pilibhit, Rajaji, Srivilliputturu, Meghamalai tiger reserves. These tiger reserves have not implemented Tiger Conservation Foundation. See, why is it important? This was reported in your last 1.5 to 2 years. This became an issue. Why? Because, see, a lot of states have been taking extensive measures to increase the tiger population. And this has been very effective also. India has massively increased its tiger population. Okay, so when you read your handouts, you will have the statistics of it. The statistics is not important. They'll not ask you the stat related to it. Your takeaway should be, we have increased the tiger population. But even in there are certain tiger reserves like these where the tiger population has suffered a decline. Okay, so not only these, there are some more numbers. So they went behind, I believe it was Indian Express, they went behind and searched like what is the cause that despite having so many conservation measures, these places are still not having a better structure. And one reason administratively they found was they still did not have a Tiger Conservation Foundation in place. Okay, so just in that point, can we just figure out where all these tiger reserves are? Where is Kamlang? Where is Kamlang Tiger Reserve online, guys? Huh? From the term, yeah. Who says Arunachal? Any other answer? Okay, one person says Arunachal. Any other answers? I believe it's Arunachal. We'll see the Tiger Reserve map. We'll confirm it then. But then, and where is Orang? Pilibhit, Rajaji, Srivilliputturu, Meghamalai. Okay. Today, see, in India, there are almost 53 tiger reserves as of now. 54th one is being under consideration also. So, we won't be marking all 53, 54, but then I would always say the ones that we keep on discussing like this, right? Like, for example, these ones. You can directly mark it in your map right now. Got it? Because to study the 53 is quite impossible. We won't be doing it. Got it? Now, as we go further, we have to move to the different tiger reserves. See, if you look at the tiger population in India, you will see that Madhya Pradesh has the highest number of tigers as per the recent census. Madhya Pradesh has almost 526, followed by Karnataka and Uttarakhand. Okay. Now, the smallest tiger reserve in India is Orang, which is in Assam. And this is where I told you yesterday. For example, when you have the different Kanha was in news, and Kanha has constantly been in news, Kanha Tiger Reserve. So, you have to know the place. Where is Kanha? Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Now, Kanha, I mentioned this to you yesterday. They have selected a mascot over there, and it is of the species, the Bara Singa. Now, moving on to some other, see, if you want an entire map of all the tiger reserves, this is it. This map has the rivers also along with it. Not the river map, but where, for example, look at this, Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam. This is on the banks of what river can be clearly seen from this. So, when you study this map, this is one criteria you can go by. Okay, look at the tiger reserve, try finding out if any river it starts from, it is on the banks of, and so on. Okay, now apart from this, let's look into some specific tiger reserves that we have to do. Okay, 1 minute. You all have the map with you, right? We'll do one thing. We'll mark the ones that I, over the time which has become important. Okay? Take the map. Those all who had barters yesterday, I hope you all got your extra maps. Oh, more people have come without maps today. So that... Online guys, do you have the maps with you? Where's my bag? By the way, did all of you study what I asked you to do yesterday? How many of you actually went back and studied your wetlands and wildlife sanctuaries and national parks? One, two, three. You all studied? Okay, fine. We'll not what? Yeah, must be 104, 106. That is around roughly. Yeah. Yeah, they had one in Chhattisgarh or something. Some Guru Sai Das. Dihing Patkai we discussed yesterday. We discussed Dihing Patkai as the most recent one. After that, nothing has come, no? What is the name? What? Raimona also we discussed yesterday. Dihing Patkai, Raimona, these are all the recent ones which have been there. Did you check the NVIS site? I told you, please, the thing is that UPSC will only take the stat seen in NVIS, not from your Drishti or PMF or anything. They don't bother about these things. So if it's there in NVIS is the Environmental Ministry site. That stat, that number, everything you follow. Okay? Okay, can we start guys? The tiger reserves in India. We won't be marking all of it. See, for example, the ones in Kerala, you all know, Periyar, Parambikulam, all of those in Kerala. Okay, so you don't have to mark that. As we go further over here on the coast, I want you to mark Satyamangalam. Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve. Where is Satyamangalam? Tamil Nadu. Do you all know Satyamangalam for anything else? I know it for the kidnapper. You know it for the kidnapped, I guess. Okay. Veerappan. Then, as we go further, this is the Nagarjuna Srisailam, Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam Tiger Reserve. And on the other bank of it, you have the Amrabad Tiger Reserve. Here. It's in this Andhra, Telangana, that border is there, no? Amrabad falls into the other side. Nagarjuna Srisailam is on this edge. No, Amrabad would be in the Telangana border, right? This is the border. Amrabad would be in Telangana side. Now, as we go further, Indravati we've already marked. Udanti, Siddhanti, where is it? Chhattisgarh. Udanti, Siddhanti. Online guys, we have, can you send this map photo in Telegram now? Which map photo? This one.
What's the name?
Of what? Siddhanti. S-I-D-A-N-T-I. Shubham, can you please specify what map you want? This map is there in the slide, right? Now, as we move further to the east side, yesterday I had already told you about Palamau Tiger Reserve. Where is that? Jharkhand. And you see this one, the Guru Ghasidas National Park and all. This is one of the recent, it is on the path to become a tiger reserve. Right now, it's got the status of a national park and wildlife sanctuary together. It will be on the path to move to a tiger reserve. The Guru Ghasidas, where is that? Yeah. Now, as we go further, Guru Ghasidas. Guru Ghasidas. If I ask you which is India's easternmost tiger reserve, which one? See, Namdafa. It's Namdafa, okay? Because it looks very comparable, Kamlang and Namdafa, but the answer it's Namdafa, easternmost, okay? Guys, online it is not Kamlang. See, Kamlang and Namdafa come very comparable. Based on the size it is there, it is Namdafa. Okay? So, the easternmost is Namdafa. Now, the one that I told you, hey, who told me Nameri when I asked the eastern one? There is Nameri over here, but what state is Nameri in? It's on the border, okay. Pakui, I told you yesterday, Arunachal. I told you it was a previous year UPSC question. Pakui in Arunachal. Orang, you know, Manas, you know. Where is Buksa? Buksa Tiger Reserve? West Bengal. Now, you guys don't tell me. Where is Valmiki National Park? Online, guys. Bihar, Shefali, good answer. All of you mentioned. Shefali, Anubhav, Abhishek, Amit, all of you mentioned. Good answer. Yes. Valmiki is in. Yeah, it is here, I guess. Here, see. Listen, yesterday when I was showing you the map that we had put in the group and all, no, I had marked something called Terai Arc Landscape. Did you all notice it in that map? No? In the map that it was put in the group yesterday, yeah. And in the slides also it was there if you zoom it, okay. So, Terai Arc Landscape is also a protection measure that IUCN has taken into, the IUCN is the one that is heading it. Write this down for the reason being, in the Terai Arc Landscape, if you look at all these bordering tiger reserves which are there, for example, your Valmiki, Dudhwa, Pilibhit, Jim Corbett, all of them fall under the Terai Arc Landscape Protection Project. Okay? Terai Arc Landscape Protection Project. So, this is actually, get this also right, it does not just involve Indian tiger reserves and Indian national parks. Because it is in that border, you have the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries of Nepal also involved in it. Okay? So, ideally, their concept is not some country specific, but that Terai area should be protected. Okay? So, Terai area, you know, it will be there both in India and Nepal because Terai is considered to be one of these lower areas of the Himalayan range. So, they are protecting that landscape area. Not all, that's what. They have not considered all the protected areas. You will have other national parks and all over here, no? They have primarily constructed or they have primarily looked into the tiger reserves of India and the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries of Nepal. Understand? Status in the sense? No, see, it's a protection measure. Understand? So, like for example, you have the Blue Carbon Initiative and like that. It's a initiative taken by IUCN to protect that area. Okay? Now, from Valmiki, I hope you've marked Dudhwa, Pilibhit and all. See, in India, they are mostly the tiger reserves of India. They have the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries over there also. It's a combination project. Let me just take that map of yesterday. I'll tell you the other. Okay, write down on the Indian side what all are there. Okay, in the Terai Arc Landscape project, in the Indian side what all are there, I'll mention the names. Okay, you can write it down. On the tiger reserves front, you have Pilibhit and you have Valmiki. Pilibhit and Valmiki are the tiger reserves in India that are part of the Terai Arc. Okay. Now, some of the national parks that we discussed yesterday, okay, because their area falls under the Terai Arc, they are being considered in the Terai Arc landscape. So, mention it's not these national parks, but the entire, for example, their buffer areas or transition areas which are involved. And those national parks are Rajaji National Park. Right, no, write it. What I was telling is, it's not the national park which is in the Terai Arc landscape. It is some area, for example, you will have the buffer zone or some transition zone in it, right? That is being considered for protection in this project. One is your Rajaji National Park. Next is your Jim Corbett National Park. Then it is your Dudhwa Tiger Reserve and National Park. Yes, these many. Okay. Along with this, when we study the elephant sites, the Mike sites of India, we'll come across 3 sites which will be part of this also. Okay. You can just note down the names right now, but then we study Mike, you will understand that clearly. One site is your Kishanpur Elephant Reserve. Kishanpur is in your UP. Yeah, it's included. All these things that I'm telling right now, it's included in the Terai Arc landscape. Kishanpur. First is Kishanpur Elephant Reserve. Next is Katharni Ghat Elephant Reserve. Katharni. Right here. K-A-T-A, Katharni Ghat. Again, that is also on UP. And one more elephant reserve, which is Sohelwa Elephant Reserve. That is also in UP. Sohelwa. Katharni Ghat is also in UP. Katharni Ghat. Sohelwa. S-O-H-E-L-W-A. So you see over here, in the Terai Arc landscape, majorly you have your tiger reserves, which is Dudhwa, Pilibhit, Valmiki, Rajaji, Jim Corbett. These are all the tiger reserves part which are there. Then you have your elephant reserves, which are 3 of them. This is in the Indian side. The Nepal side you don't have to learn. Okay. So understand. Yeah. No. We can, in your mind, they have not called it. Okay. They have not called it. Okay. Clear? Now let's go forward. We have to, where is the, now we have to deal with, see, on the other hand, the rest of the tiger reserves that we all know most of it, Panna, Bandhavgarh, Satpura, Melghat, these are all the very common ones, Dandeli, Anshi and all we've talked about yesterday. So, if you look at it, most of the ones that are there in this map, you've heard about it at least once now, by virtue of your current affair or anything. So, what you are supposed to be doing is today, once you go back, you sit with this map, and if I have mentioned to you in a current affair, or you are familiar with it, mark it in the map and keep. Okay? Now, we have to discuss some important ones that have come about over here in the last 1.5, 2 years, the current affairs. First thing is the Ranipur Tiger Reserve, which is there in UP. Okay. Now, this is a twist statement because naturally in a tiger reserve, what do you expect? At least tiger should be there, no? In Ranipur, there is no tiger of its own. Okay. They are bringing tigers from elsewhere and trying to locate it over there. Got it? So if a statement comes, Ranipur Tiger Reserve has no tiger of its own, that is a correct statement. Okay? I mean, that is the first statement you will eliminate when you have a question. You're like, oh, Tiger Reserve should at least have one tiger, right? But no. Next one I talked about the good job, Abhishek. That is a correct guess. Next, moving on to Panna Tiger Reserve in MP. I already told you about the Ken Betwa River Linking Project. Then one of the other things over here is in Panna is one place where there has been a successful reintroduction of your tiger species. Panna at one point was known to have no or very on the numbers over there, they didn't have any tigers on paper. Like, you know, they theoretically they could not find tigers and they had to reintroduce tigers from the scratch. And this is one of the most successful reintroduction projects that has happened in India. Right now, Panna is one of those tiger reserves which has extensive tiger population. Okay. Now coming into this year's probable tiger reserve elimination option or question is your Kali Tiger Reserve which occurs in Karnataka. It has been repeated in news for several reasons. Okay. One, there has been a tiger census happening in the country. Okay. When the tiger census was there, Kali was mentioned. When elsewhere, for example, the economic evaluation, there was some news regarding it, then also Kali was mentioned. Kali is also mentioned because they are planning a highway path through this area also. There also Kali was mentioned. So, it has come repeatedly. Understand, Kali is in Karnataka. Now, two of the primary reasons Kali came in news is, Kali was one of the primary tiger reserves where they are planning to take an economic evaluation of the entire animal wealth over there. Okay, see normally for biosphere, in the first class I had mentioned to you, if you have an ecosystem, you can do the economic evaluation of that area. You can see what all that services the ecosystem is giving and give a, like for example, it's giving me air, so it's worth maybe this much million. Okay, you can quantify it. Kali Tiger Reserve is now taking an economic evaluation of its tiger population as how much worth it is and the ecosystem area. So this is the first reason why it was there in news. Second reason it was there in news is because the tiger counting that is happening in Kali right now is known to be one of the most efficient tiger counting systems in the world. Okay, I'll tell you what they are doing. Just understand that this system has been widely appreciated by your international communities like your WWF and IUCN and so on. This tiger counting model is considered to be superior in comparison to the other models that we are doing. Now, the reason why it happens over here is normally in a tiger counting model, what is just being done is either the pug marks. Okay, they follow 2 or 3 combination methods. There also, for example, initially I told you there is a pug mark system. Then there is something called as a camera trap system. And so on. Camera, okay. Now in Kali, what they're doing is they're using a combination of these systems. But apart from that, see, camera trap means what would happen is some pictures would, they try to, it's not like a camera follows the tiger, it's not some reality show. Okay. So what happens is if the tiger comes in front of the camera, it is being pictured. So which means you have errors in counting of the numbers. So here what they have done is they have used manual labor also and they have gone and ventured out and tried to create a, a clear, much more clarity in the count. So if I ask you a statement where Kali tiger counting is not a fully technologically oriented system which is there, it's both technology and manual labor involved in it. Okay, it becomes accurate because of this also. Okay, so here you have the tiger counting model that has become in news. Then moving on to the next one is the Bandhavgarh. How do we already know Bandhavgarh? I told you Bandhavgarh for something. Who said Barasinga now? This is what happens after a point. Everything will be together. This is why you require separate list to study every single thing. Got it? Okay, Bandhavgarh, how do we know? White tiger. Okay, white. Okay, since we are on the white area, which is the white crocodile area? West Bengal. Tell me the name of the reserve. Bhitarkanika. Bhitarkanika. One more thing over here, when it comes to Bandhavgarh, Bandhavgarh is in MP, first thing. Second thing is, in this year, Bandhavgarh has been in news due to two reasons. First thing, they have discovered extensive Buddhist caves in Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve. Okay, so they've discovered chaityas, viharas, stupas, everything that we normally study as part of Buddhist architecture, they are able to find it, or they could discover it in the Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve. So from the culture point of view, that has come in news. The second thing that has come in news is, there is an animal called as the gaur. Okay, so in this area, when there was cheetah reintroduction happening and all that, in this area, they have undertaken the reintroduction of gaur. Okay, and that is why also it was there in news. Now, gaur might not be as glamorous as the cheetah and everything, but still it was there in news. So, we make a note of it. Next, coming into the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. Mudumalai I had already mentioned to you once when we were initially talking about, I believe, the invasive species. Now here again, what has happened over here is, in Mudumalai is in Tamil Nadu, there is a specific species called as the Senna spectabilis, which again is causing the damage of Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. So what kind of species is Senna spectabilis? 1 minute. What kind of species is it? Yes. Very good. Invasive alien species. Okay. Again, I asked you to mark Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve for this reason. This year, Satyamangalam has got a very prominent award for tiger conservation called as the TX2 award. TX2 is primarily an initiative to double the tiger population in an area. So, year on year, whenever there is this, for example, whenever this achievement has been done, an award is given, and this year the Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve in Tamil Nadu got the award. Okay. What are they doing from there? Fine. Where is Sariska Tiger Reserve? Now, apart from this, I want you to write something about the Amrabad Tiger Reserve also. Okay. See, Amrabad Tiger Reserve. Amrabad was where? Huh? Telangana. Good. Amrabad. 1 minute. Huh. See, in Amrabad, they have again reintroduced a specific species called as the mouse deer species. Mouse deer. And for this reason, it has been in news. Okay. Done. We are done with almost all the tiger reserves we have to know. Now we go on to something called as critical tiger habitat. Now I'll tell you one thing. Previously, UPSC has asked a variant question called as critical wildlife habitat. Okay. Now there are two things. There is a critical tiger habitat and there is another concept called as critical wildlife habitat. Critical tiger habitats are formed under the Forest Rights Act of 2006, variety. It is not Protection Act, it is not any of the other ones, it's the Forest Rights Act of 2006. Now, what is a guess you can make if it's the Forest Rights Act? I mean, why did the Forest Rights Act of 2006 come into? Yes, it is basically for the communities over there. Okay, so here what has happened is, in the case of the critical tiger habitats, they understood that you have the tiger reserve, but then you have the living communities also over there. So you want to preserve tiger with its utmost protection, but at the same time, you cannot drive out the living communities. And to incorporate this concept, what has happened is, See, you take an entire tiger reserve, and just like we did for the biosphere reserve, where you have a core, a buffer and a transition area, here they have divided into two areas. You have a critical tiger habitat which is in the core part, and then you have some sort of a buffer zone around it. So you primarily have two zones over here. Okay. Now the reason why it is being done is, in the critical tiger habitat, which is the core area, you will not allow any activities. But beyond that, you can have your other activities like your living community activities, grazing, livestock and so on. Okay. When I tell you all these things, I want you to remember one more point. In a national park or in a critical tiger habitat, normal human activities are allowed, which is your day-to-day activities like grazing and things. Some, not mining and extensive activities which can cause damage to the ecosystem is not going to happen when it comes to the national park or the critical tiger habitats. So here, these are areas of national parks and sanctuaries which are required to be kept as inviolate for the purposes of wildlife conservation. So it started off for the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Right now, critical tiger habitats is being extensively done for the tiger reserves. So then what is the difference between a critical tiger habitat and a critical wildlife habitat? Only difference being, critical tiger habitat happens in your tiger reserves and your critical wildlife habitat happens in your normal national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, so get this clear. Critical tiger habitat happens in your tiger reserve areas where you have a core tiger population. The wildlife habitat happens for your national parks and sanctuaries. The area of a tiger or critical tiger habitat is being determined and notified by the central government, and central government means what? Basically the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and it is being done with the consultation of an expert committee. So, if you look at you have a lot of tiger reserves in India, okay, and tiger reserves, as I told you, smallest tiger reserve is Orang and all that. Now, the tiger reserve with the largest critical habitat or critical tiger habitat is your Nagarjuna Srisailam Tiger Reserve. This is a previous year UPSC question. Okay? Shubham, the name of tiger reserve after Sariska, I discussed Amrabad. Okay. Done till here? Can we move on to the next tiger area? Yeah. Now the next thing that is being done is something called as a CATS accreditation. Okay. CATS accreditation primarily says that, you have put all these tiger reserves in place. Just by putting tiger reserves, it's not like the tiger will naturally be like, okay, fine, they're doing so much for me, so I'll double my population. No, that is not how it works. So what happens over here is you need proper tiger or, that entire area has to have proper governance. So CATS accreditation primarily tries to accredit. Accredit means what? You must have heard even for your colleges and all, they will receive some accreditation. They'll come, they'll check. On that day, all your college, they will be cleaning and very nicely they will be keeping. That day, you will have labs and all working. Huh? Yeah, that is what happens. Here also, what happens is, in CATS accreditation, they come to the tiger reserves. Any issues? No? Okay. They come to the tiger reserve and they check and they give certain accreditation saying that, okay, you are doing things in a good manner. You are constructing your governance. The tiger governance is good. You're putting all these things into proper place. And based on that, they will get like it's not an award, but like an accreditation. Okay. So it becomes much more, clear that, okay, they're doing a good job when it comes to preserving the tiger population. It is an accreditation tool by the Global Coalition of Tiger Range Countries and has been developed by certain tiger and protected area experts. What are these tiger range countries? Yeah, other countries. It's not only India which has this. There are other countries where tigers are found. Can you tell me any anomaly country where you feel, okay, it's not correct like that. Okay. Yeah, any country which you might not think there is tiger over there, but then you will not normally think about that country to have tiger. It's in the Asian area itself. It's a cold area. Where? Nepal, we will guess only. Nepal, we might even think, okay, there can be tiger because you have the Terai Arc landscape. Russia. Russia is one country which is part of the tiger range countries. But we normally will not think like, okay, there is a tiger population over there. Okay? Yeah. So, now, as part of this CATS accreditation, 14 sites in India have got this tag, like, accreditation thing. We already know most of these 14 sites. You have Manas, Kaziranga and Orang in Assam, Satpura, Kanha and Panna in Madhya Pradesh, Pench in Maharashtra, Valmiki in Bihar, Dudhwa in UP, Sundarbans in West Bengal, Parambikulam in Kerala, Bandipur in Karnataka and Mudumale in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so these sites have got your CATS accreditation. This was a current affair. Okay, so you can narrow down your tiger reserve study to that one table that I gave you and maybe these sites also, because this has come in news. What? Yeah. It will not be 53. No. No way it will be 53. But then see, don't you realize something? Through this class, when you keep hearing these terms again and again and again, Pench, Kanha, Panna, Sundarbans, you keep hearing it, it naturally will be there in your mind somehow. Got it? So you might not feel like you sat and studied 53 tiger reserves, but then somewhere and all you will be able to relate it. Hopefully, I don't know. Those who are sitting attentively in the class. Now moving on to the elephant reserves. Let me just ask this. Why is a big line in between cats wrong? That is how they write it. I didn't draw it. This is how they have written it in the logo. That is why I have written it. I didn't mean to demarcate CA with TS. Okay. Elephant reserves. When it comes to elephant reserves, again, elephant is one other species which has over the time undergone a clear reduction in its population, and now there's a lot of preservation efforts. You have a project elephant also for the same. See, if you look at your handout, they've given a lot of information on project elephant, project hangul, a lot of species I've given. So you can just read through it once. There will never be a question specifically framed on that project, but then since you have the handout and you want to revise it, you can go through it. Okay? Now, but any problem? What? Handout is given in the video. Yeah, but then you have the content in it, right? Yeah, you can take the printout of it if you want, no? It's not given, okay. Okay. No, what happened? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear what was the joke. No, you guys, it's not nice, okay? You're laughing without me. Fine. Next thing. See, that is self-preservation. Let me move, take the other slide. Done. See, my point is, I am discussing the ones, see, you cannot, if I discuss the entire content of the handout, it will be like taking a foundation class for you. Understand? And you guys, I don't think require foundation class, be it online or offline, guys, you know most of the things, okay, is what I'm thinking from your responses. So, you just need to have an idea about what the most important topics are. But then if there is someone who has the habit of reading that entire thing, so I want to know more about Project Elephant, I think that's given in the handout, which you can read. Now, coming into the elephant reserves, elephants are again protected by the Schedule 1 of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. It's quite obvious. It is also in the Appendix 1 of the sites which is there. The Project Elephant was started in 1992, and today you have almost 16 elephant reserves in 28 states of India. Okay? 16 of them. Not 16 reserves. In the 16 states of India, you do see elephants and elephant reserves. So, what is the conclusion you can take from there? 16 is a huge number when it comes to It's more than half of the states in India. That is the conclusion you have to take. More than half of states of India have elephant population. Got it? That is the statement that will come. So you cannot sit and count at that point. More than half of the states of India has elephant population. Now coming into, in these elephant reserves itself, so the elephant reserves is quite impossible for us to sit and study all of it. It's a lot of it. Amongst these elephant reserves, there is something called as mic sites. Mic primarily means the monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. Okay, and it is done by sites. And it was started in the year 2003. And these are the sites in India which fall under the mic category. Hmm. Okay, that is much more extensive. There is something called as, for example, you would have seen even in news this year, there is something called as, when it comes to elephant reserves, there is a clause in the rules which was very recently done, 2 years back, which says that for religious purposes, for some categories are there. I'll put in the slides if you want. I can do an explanation on that. For some purposes, you can transport elephants within the country and rear it. Understand? This is actually a dilution of the status over here. Very recently, there was a very Joy Mala. Have you heard about this case? This was there in the news, and this fight was between Assam and Tamil Nadu. This was regarding an elephant called as Joy Mala. Okay, Joy Mala, Jay Mala, anything. Okay, now the point is, this elephant was transported all the way from Assam and brought into Tamil Nadu, and rearing was happening, but it was reared under very bad conditions. Okay, so this is being done on a contract basis. If at all someone comes and checks and they find this is not done according to a healthy practice, the elephant can be brought back to its original population. Now at that point, this was brought into light that when in most of these cases, if I want to exchange the ownership, I need the permission of someone like, for example, the chief warden officer or someone, the authority over there. But most of the times in India, the movement, because it's between the states, happen without this permission. And the reason why it is happening without the permission is because you need the permission only when you're bringing it for some very specific commercial activities. For religious activities, it is being diluted and said, you don't require the permission. So what people normally do, they say that we are bringing it to a temple in somewhere, okay? We are bringing it because here you see a lot of temple processions and happening with elephants. So from Assam and all these northeastern states, they bring the elephant saying that this is for a religious purpose. They put it over here, but here they will be used for commercial activities. Got it? So because the law is slightly diluted, this is what is being happening. Okay? Yeah, see, it needs area to protect, but then even there, for the elephant protection, there is, for example, the tiger protection. There is this, according to the Wildlife Protection Act, they've given specific clause, like you have to have a tiger foundation and so on and so forth. Similarly, for elephant also, it is being given protection. See, it falls under the same thing like this. Tiger is being given protection. Tiger, there's no movement of tiger for any activities. You don't have any religious or anything related to it. But here, when it comes to elephant, it is such an animal where it has been traditionally used for these purposes also. So you have to accommodate that also in the law. Because if you stop it, it will be considered as you are restricting our religious sentiments. Okay. So for these things, they gave the permission that for temple activities and all, you can use it. So this is not like when you say it is a Schedule 1 animal, protection is given to it. But then what if it is protection is given to those animals in the wild? Got it. But if you're bringing an elephant for rearing, it becomes not wild. It's a domesticated thing. And that is not covered under this Schedule 1. Got it. That is governed by the law, which is being said that you can use it for temple activities. That is why the Schedule 1 will not be effective for any domesticated animal like this. Clear? Okay. Good that you brought the question, because this will not be a direct question or anything, but then they can have some derived information about it. So I am planning to, when we have the discussion of the IUCN, I'm planning to take up some major 10-12 species and discuss this in detail. Like for example, the elephant, the bat, the pangolin, the cheetah, and so on. So we will be dealing with it then also. Okay. Oh my God. Now as we move further, so here, have you all noticed the elephant reserves over here? These are the Mike site elephant reserves. Okay, just to have a brief idea, let's just try to understand which states these all fall in, because we all are very obsessed with the tiger reserves. We rarely go forward and look into the elephant reserves which are there. Let's try understanding this. Where is the Chirang Ripu elephant reserve? This you guys will take some time. Wait. Online guys, where is the Chirang Ripu? Assam. Deomali Elephant Reserve. Deomali is in Arunachal. Look who has come again, Dihing Patkai. Dihing Patkai is an elephant reserve also, and this is the same thing that we discussed yesterday also. What was any important thing that we discussed with respect to Dihing Patkai? You guys don't tell me. Online. Online guys, there was some extra feature that I told about Dihing Patkai. What was it? They have instant answers. Okay, I'll give you a clue. Dihing Patkai is known by some other name. Jaipur rainforest. Now you will naturally say, okay, it had the oldest refinery over there. It was called Big Boy. Yeah. Okay. Coming to Garo Hills. Garo Hills again you will know. Where is it? Meghalaya. Good. By the way, I have to appreciate the online guys because they give me instant answers over here. Sushma, Shefali and Abhishek. Good job guys. Okay. Next one, the Eastern Doors Elephant Reserve. It's in West Bengal. Mayurbhanj Elephant Reserve. Okay, from the name Odisha. Shivalik Elephant Reserve. Uttarakhand. It's in UP. Mysore Elephant Reserve, you know, Karnataka. It's in given UP. It's, for me, it's UP. Where are you checking it in some place and telling me UK or just? Shivalik Elephant Reserve. See, Shivalik not the area. I'm asking Elephant Reserve. Shivalik Elephant Reserve. Can you all correct it to Uttarakhand? Yeah. And then finally, your Nilgiri Elephant Reserve, you know, it is in the Nilgiri Elephant Reserve is in the Tamil Nadu area, okay? And the Wayanad Elephant Reserve in Kerala. So, these much for your elephant reserves. Now, we move on to the last two areas in biodiversity. Marked, all of you? Online guys, are you all done? Now, online guys, are you able to give me answers quickly like this because you are not marking anything and you're sitting like chill over there? Are you marking it in your maths? Good. Anubhav, see, that is what, it's very difficult to remember. Now imagine if I gave you all the elephant reserves. I have made your work so easy because you have to study only 8-9 reserves at least. Okay. Now to study that, you will have to do it. And it becomes, you hear it again and again, you solve questions and then it gets into your mind. Okay. Now moving on to the next concept that we have to look into. It's something called as the key biodiversity areas. See, now, You know, IUCN is one organization which has come about and given clear criteria on species conservation. And I had also told you in the first class of mine, IUCN undertakes something called as for ecosystems, it does something. What is it? The red list of ecosystems. Okay. Now, this is one other concept that is there. IUCN has given 11 broad criteria, and what they have done is, any areas that have contributed to the biodiversity, where there is extensive threatened plant and animal species, they've given it like a key biodiversity area. Okay. Now, you don't have to see, it's not because it's given by a global organization. In India, we don't have what you say, like, okay, for the key biodiversity area, we have this law, this protection measure. That is not done. Globally, IUCN has identified certain areas in India where they call it key biodiversity sites. And in total, you have almost 531 such sites, okay, in India. Okay. Now, it does not, you cannot study it, you don't have to know it. Understand it is being given by IUCN for their own purposes of identifying which is the biodiversity rich areas. Okay. So, key biodiversity areas is that. Now, moving on to biodiversity heritage sites. This year, if a site or a theory question from biodiversity, if they want to ask, this has a high probability, because time and again, India has kept on adding new sites into this biodiversity heritage site. It is very, very different from the natural heritage site that I discussed with you, which, okay, who puts out the natural heritage sites? UNESCO. UNESCO puts out the natural heritage sites. This is not that. What happens over here is, in India, certain areas, for example, your sacred groves. Have you all seen these areas and all where there is, the snake is worshipped and you have these grove areas around it? Yeah, it won't be forest. For example, if you look into old homes and all, they will have it'll have some fauna, flora area and all that. They will have these things called as sacred groves. Okay, now there are a lot of such things. There are sacred groves. There are rice fields which grow underneath the water and there are a lot of such sites in India, which the government tags it by biodiversity heritage sites. Okay. Now, in the biodiversity heritage sites, it's the well-defined, unique, ecologically fragile ecosystems. So, for example, if you know, in Kerala, in this place called Kuttanad, okay, the rice cultivation in Kuttanad is very, very different from all the other places you will know. Kuttanad is an area which is basically like below the sea level kind of a thing. Every year, it floods completely. Okay, when you have such you need rice, you have to have marshy areas. But then what happens is, when it is completely flooded like this and it is with saline water, it becomes very difficult in a normal situation to grow rice. But in Kuttanad, they have had the expertise to actually cultivate rice over here. Okay, in the saline water conditions. And this area around it has been termed as, obviously it has some speciality over here. The water is getting rejuvenated in some way. That is why rice is being able to grow over there. So they have tagged it under this site, the biodiversity heritage site. Similarly, there are rice fields in Assam which were tagged this year. Okay, so Assam is also one place where there is extensive rain, the land gets submerged and everything, and there also some rice fields and areas, they might not be forest or anything. Understand, it's a rice field with a specific amount of diversity over there. They tag it with these ecology or biodiversity heritage sites. The things you have to remember is, when you have these things, it's well defined, unique, ecologically fragile, high diversity of wild and domesticated species, presence of rare and threatened species, keystone species, etc. You need not satisfy all the criteria. Got it? Obviously, when you have a rice field, you cannot be like, okay, is there a keystone, is there that, this. You have something over there, it's ecologically fragile, that will also fall under the category of biodiversity heritage sites. Now, here is who is the declaring authority, and this is your question content. This biodiversity heritage site is being declared under the law of Biological Diversity Act 2002. This is different from all the other things that we've discussed. We've discussed Wildlife Protection Act, the amendment of 2002 of it, the amendment of 2006 of it, the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Now, the Forest Right Act we discussed of 2006. I mean, when I say discussed, I mean in relation to any site which is there. Okay. Now, this is under the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Yes, good job, guys. Yeah, Anubhav has also mentioned about the sacred groves over here. Now, the reason why we have a lot of biodiversity heritage site is because the state government is given the right to declare. So, why the state government? Because the state government would be having much more better idea of what areas can be unique over there and so on. You all know this. When you go, I do not know the route, but then St. Mary's Island, have you heard? Malpe and that area is also being declared as a heritage site. Now, if you go over there, you have these very unique rock formations over there. Yeah, columnar kind of a rocks. Yeah, that is the reason why they've been given that tag. Okay. So, if you look at it, there are a lot of sites like that in India. You cannot sit and study all the sites. Now, here when it comes on some areas being declared as a biodiversity heritage site by the state government, one thing which is mentioned over there is it should not put any restriction on the prevailing practices and usages of local communities. Why? The very reason why that site got that tag, for example, if the rice field over there, how is the rice field getting that tag? It's getting that tag because the people over there have found some way to cultivate some kind of a crop over there in these very adverse conditions. Okay. So, when these sites are there, they demarcate it, they protect it, but the community's activities are not affected at all over there. They are not prevented, they are not banned, nothing. In fact, they encourage the communities to actually, be part of that entire protection activities. So, this is very clear. They do not put any restriction on the prevailing practices and usage of the land. Now, as of now, there are almost 35 biodiversity heritage sites in India. The first site was your Nallur Tamarind Grove in Bangalore. So, you guys must be knowing about it. No? Okay. You will prepare for this when you go for interview is what I am thinking. But understand the Nallur Tamarind Grove. And the very recent one is the Arittapatti in Madurai. Arittapatti in Madurai, where they have given it in 2022. So, by virtue of all of these things, generally itself, if you ask me of all the laws that you have to study in environment, which is the most question-worthy law, it is the Biological Diversity Act of 2002. Means prelims in all the aspects in comparison to any other law you will ever study in environment. Okay. Now, on top of it, these points or these factuals could also be questions.